There is a strange kind of exhaustion that many people feel today. It is not just physical tiredness. It is the tiredness of always trying to become someone, trying to be more productive, trying to be more attractive, trying to be calmer, trying to be more successful, trying to heal faster, trying to optimize every hour, every habit, and every emotion. And somehow, the harder we try to fix our lives, the more life begins to feel like a problem. This is one of the quiet tragedies of the modern world. We have learned how to improve almost everything, except how to be at peace. More than 2,000 years ago, the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu saw something about human nature that feels almost painfully relevant today. He saw that people suffer not only because life is difficult, but because we are constantly trying to force life to obey our expectations. We force ourselves to move faster than our bodies can handle. We force relationships to become what we imagined. We force our minds to stop thinking. We force happiness to arrive on schedule. And when life refuses to be controlled, we call it failure. Lao Tzu offered a different path. It is called Wu Wei. It is often translated as non-action, but that translation can be misleading. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. It does not mean being passive. It does not mean giving up on your life. A better way to understand it is this: acting without forcing. Moving with the nature of things instead of constantly pushing against them. Think of water. Water does not argue with the rock. It does not panic when the path is blocked. It does not announce its ambition. It bends. It flows. It waits. And over time, it can shape mountains. This is why Lao Tzu returns again and again to images of water, softness, emptiness, and the valley. To the modern mind, these things may look weak, but in Taoist thought, softness is not weakness. Softness is intelligence. It is the ability to respond without breaking. Much of modern life trains us in the opposite direction. We are told to push harder, brand yourself, maximize your potential, never waste time, turn your pain into content, turn your morning into a routine, turn your personality into a strategy. Even rest becomes another performance. We do not sleep. We recover. We do not walk. We get our steps in. We do not sit quietly. We practice mindfulness. There is nothing wrong with discipline. Lao Tzu was not against action. But he understood that action becomes destructive when it loses contact with nature. And nature is not only the forest, the river, or the sky. Nature is also your own limits, your own rhythm, your own season. The modern world often treats human beings like machines. If output is low, increase pressure. If motivation disappears, consume more advice. If anxiety rises, download another method. If life feels empty, add more goals. But a human being is not a machine. A human life is closer to a garden. Some things can be cultivated. Some things need time. Some things grow only when you stop disturbing them. This is where Lao Tzu becomes so useful for anxious people. Anxiety often comes from living too far ahead of reality. The mind rushes into futures that do not exist yet. It tries to solve conversations that have not happened. It tries to control outcomes that are still forming. The anxious mind believes that if it thinks enough, it can prevent pain. But often, thinking becomes the pain. Wu Wei asks a gentle but difficult question. What if your life does not need to be forced into clarity before you can live it? What if the next right step is enough? What if peace is not something you achieve after everything is fixed, but something you practice by no longer fighting every moment? This does not mean becoming lazy. In fact, Wu Wei can lead to better action. When you stop forcing, you begin to notice. You notice which work actually matters. You notice which relationships soften you and which ones make you perform. You notice when ambition is alive and when it is only fear wearing a better outfit. You notice the difference between effort and strain. Effort can be clean. Strain has a kind of violence in it. Effort says, I am here, and I will give myself to this. Strain says, I am not enough, and I must become worthy through pressure. Most people today do not need less action. They need less inner violence. This is why Lao Tzu's wisdom is not an escape from modern life. It is a way of moving through modern life without being completely consumed by it. You can answer emails with Wu Wei. You can build a career with Wu Wei. You can love someone with Wu Wei. You can make difficult decisions with Wu Wei. The point is not to disappear from the world. The point is to stop turning every part of life into a battlefield. Imagine waking up and not immediately treating yourself as a project. Imagine working with focus but without hatred toward your own limits. Imagine wanting a good life but not measuring your worth by how quickly it arrives. Imagine letting some things unfold before you decide they are broken. This is the quiet revolution Lao Tzu offers. Not more control, more alignment, not more pressure, more presence. Not the abandonment of ambition, but the end of being ruled by it. The Tao Te Ching does not give us a productivity system. It gives us something more unsettling and more freeing. The possibility that life may become wiser when the ego stops trying to dominate it. Maybe the reason trying so hard makes us miserable is that much of what we call trying is actually resistance. Resistance to uncertainty, resistance to slowness, resistance to being ordinary, resistance to the fact that we cannot control how everything unfolds. Lao Tzu does not ask us to become perfect. He asks us to become natural again. And perhaps, in a world obsessed with becoming extraordinary, returning to what is natural may be the most radical thing left. So the next time you feel yourself forcing life, pause, ask yourself, am I applying effort? Or am I fighting the nature of this moment? Am I moving with what is real? Or am I attacking reality because it does not match my plan? The answer may not change everything immediately, but it may soften something. And sometimes that is where the Tao begins. Not in a dramatic transformation, not in a perfect morning routine, not in finally becoming the person you think you should be, but in the quiet moment when you stop forcing, and life can finally breathe again.